What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to EP09. Alright, so we are 4 days out from the New York Pro, one of the most prestigious bodybuilding competitions in the world. The official competitors list has been released, and I wanted to have a look at who I think is going to be in the top 5 in the open division. Now, I've seen a lot of talk in the bodybuilding community about this show, a lot of talk about how this year's lineup is considered a quote-unquote weak lineup because there's no quote-unquote big names that are typically associated with the New York Pro. And honestly, I think anyone saying that is completely full of, well, you guys know, because a lot of names in this lineup could very well be the future stars of professional bodybuilding. And a lot of these guys are going to show up in, ridiculous shape. And I'm going to show you right here. So, in this video, I'm going to focus on who I think is going to be in the top 5, but stay tuned for another video where we look at all the competitors coming up that we know about in the New York Pro. So, let's get into it. Okay, in no particular order here, I'm going to start off with Tonio Burton. Now, Tonio is one athlete that is really getting a lot of hype right now as being the top contender for the win this weekend. And rightfully so. Tonio competed in the 2022 Olympia, he had a productive offseason with his coach Dylan Blum, and he's made drastic improvements to his physique. Tonio not only has fantastic shape, but Tonio is looking round, full, hard. He's got crazy proportions, crazy round shoulders. He's got a ton of detail in his back. The hamstrings are in, the glutes are in. It's all there, you guys. And his skin is almost transparent. Like, look at the thinness of the skin here. I've only ever seen Tonio and Edvan Palmiera have skin as thin as this. And Mark's Max Muscle actually said it, and he's not the only one out there that I've heard say it, but he said that Tonio reminds him of Dexter Jackson. And that's really saying something for the potential that Tonio has in this sport. I've spoken to Tonio a number of times now, and I can tell you, he's hungry, he's coming in to fight for that win, and he's planning to do the same thing the following week in California. After this weekend, I think you're going to see a lot of heads turn and start taking a much closer look at Tonio Burton as a threat in that Olympia lineup to a fair few guys that are considered world-class competitors. It might take him another year to gain more size before he's challenging those caliber of athletes, but he has beaten bigger guys before, so he's no stranger to that battle either. Tonio Burton will not only be in the top 5 this weekend, but I have him as my pick to win this show. Now, as we all know, there's one competitor that's been getting a lot of hype as being a contender for that title this weekend as well. Stuart Sutherland dropped some updates at 5 days out, and he looks ready, without a doubt. Of course, as we all know, Stu gained a lot of traction after the guest posing with Hunter Labrada at the Emerald Cup, but I watched Stu progress for weeks leading up to that guest posing, and the amount of progress he's made is absolutely crazy. Stu is another bodybuilder that is going to end up making a name for himself in what he calls his rookie season this year. This is Stu's second pro show, and he's already in the conversation for the win going up against an Olympia competitor. And that really holds a lot of weight in my book. I mean, the guy just finished sizing up Hunter Labrada, and look at the midsection, look at the delts, the arms, the quads. Stu is the real deal. Yes, he does need more width and thickness to the back, I'd say more hamstring size overall too, but you can see the detail from the back is there, the conditioning is in, and I think he's going to look very impressive this weekend. So I think Stu is going to live up to the hype, I think a lot of people are going to be impressed, and I think Stu is a top 2, top 3 competitor in this lineup. Now, we talked about two guys with great shape and great lines. What about the mass monsters in this lineup? What about Joe Seeman? Joe Seeman dropped an update at 5 days out, and look, I've said it in past videos, you guys, but just look at the size of this guy. Joe Seeman is massive. Look at the arms, the quads, the width of the back, the thickness of the arm and the side chest. This is a very impressive physique. And Joe is a mass monster, but look at how he's hitting these poses. There are not many other mass monsters that can find a way to hit poses with an aesthetic look and still hit it in a way that really looks good. And Joe is absolutely nailing that aspect here. His presentation for his size and his shape is absolutely ridiculous. Now, granted, I still wish he would crouch down more at the knee and the side chest to make that hamstring drop look bigger, and Joe does need to keep extremely good control of his midsection. You can see in the posing video he does here from his YouTube channel that he does let it go a bit throughout the mandatory poses, but when he's actually in the pose, his abs look good. And the other thing about the way Joe executes the poses, he does it in a way that hides the wideness of his midsection. Well, that in the vacuum. Just unbelievable. And listen, Joe is in the conversation in some circles to win this show. He's going to be bigger than everyone else in this lineup. He won't outshape anyone, but if anyone shows up and Joe has the size and the conditioning, he'll end up blowing past them. But yeah, overall, Joe Seeman, I'd say top 3 in this lineup. But you know, another mass monster that might have something to say about that is Robin Strand. Because Robin's conditioning, I don't think is going to be in question as being some of the best in this show. You can literally see the vertical cuts in his quads and the back poses. This guy is peeled, and Robin is, like I said, a serious mass monster in his own right. I think the only person that rivals him for conditioning in this show that I've seen so far is Tonio Burton. And Robin might even be more conditioned, honestly. Robin has to keep his midsection in check the same way that Joe does, of course, and he does have that vertical separation in the ab wall. It does make his waist appear wider, but he's got some serious width to make up for that. So, making himself wider gives him more of that favorable looking X-frame. Robin is another guy on his way up, and he'll be in that top 5. Now, another guy that we know for sure will be in that top 5 in the New York Pro is Ross Flanagan. Ross is actually not doing New York. I'm just kidding, Ross. Look, if you know, you know, okay? But no, I actually think Eric Wood has a shot at cracking the top 5 at his pro debut. Eric's conditioning is as good as you'll find anywhere in the back, and he's got a very impressive looking X-frame. Very impressive side chest and front double bicep, and when he brings up the legs, I think he'll be fighting for an Olympia qualification at some point. Eric is one guy we really need to see in a lineup, though, to really get a gauge on how he is right now, since he's really untested on a pro stage. And it's no guarantee as far as my predictions go, but I do think Eric has a legitimate shot at the top 5 in the New York Pro. So, that's where I see the New York Pro going down this year when it comes to the top 5. And that is a very strong top 5. You have the aesthetic physiques, you have the mass monsters, and for me, this show is the best representation of the new generation of bodybuilders coming up, all gathered at one of the most prestigious shows in all of bodybuilding in the world. Some of these guys, without a doubt, are the future of the sport. For all these guys that I think will be in the top 5, this isn't even their final form. Beef Stew is 26 years old, Tonio is only 30, Eric Wood is what, like 25 or 26? I don't think Joe and Robin are more than like 28 years old. So you guys, you gotta get excited for this show. It's gonna be a damn good lineup, and any hardcore bodybuilding fan is really gonna enjoy this. Like I said, we'll look at everybody else in the lineup in another video with myself and Mark's Max Muscle, and we'll have that out before the show. Anyway, that's it for me in this video, you guys. Thank you for tuning in to EP09. Be sure to like and subscribe.